Smarties, today we are discussing the foreign language requirement. This is something that comes up all the time with learners in our practices. So we wanted to chat about the conversations we're having and also have an easy conversation exploring alternative but meaningful ways to satisfy this requirement. Sometimes we got to get creative. If you are interested in having your learner work with one of our practices, go ahead and sign up for a phone call. Steph's practice is M.Ed Therapist, located in Redondo Beach, California and Manhattan Beach, California. And you can sign up for a phone call on her website, www.myedtherapist.com. They do all the things over at My Therapist, and my practice is Kapp Educational Therapy Group in Beverly Hills, California. I should also add, we're both virtually everywhere. We work with learners nationally and internationally at this point. In my practice, we specialize in learners who are 5th grade through adulthood, who are working on executive functioning skills challenges, and you can sign up for a phone call on my website, which is www.kappedtherapy.com, Kapp. Let's dig in.
You want to learn faster, but sometimes working harder is just not the answer. You have to learn smarter. The Educational Therapy Podcast.
Hi, Smarties. Welcome to episode 329 of Learn Smarter, the Educational Therapy Podcast. I'm Stephanie Pitts.
And I'm Rachel Kapp. Can't believe you're saying 329, Steph.
I know. I had to look again to make sure that I was saying the right number because...
Totally.
Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
So 329, and this conversation has been coming up a lot lately. I find myself having it often. And that's what sort of sparked this whole conversation.
That's how episodes happen.
Yeah, and you and I haven't really had a conversation about this, so I think that it'll be interesting.
Well, it was funny because we were recording another episode. You had scheduled this episode to come out in like 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you said to me, Rach, I want to talk to you. I can't wait to hear what you think about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, sounds like we need to reorder things and have this episode come out sooner. So this is our first conversation about this, really.
Yeah, for sure. So foreign language. Okay. It is the bane of a lot of parents and students' existence.
Total stressor.
Honestly. It really is. So I wanted to talk about the difference between middle school and high school and what some options are. So when I'm having these conversations with parents and they're calling and when I'm asking what's really hard, where is the struggle that you're seeing, a lot of times, obviously there's reading and math and all of that, but Spanish is coming up a lot. That it is taking a significant amount of time. They are not doing as well. And it is impacting the other subjects because it is taking so long to do homework or to study for tests, etc. Or they're getting things wrong because they're spelling it incorrectly. So if you have a kid that has dyslexia, you have a kid that has ADHD, you have a kid that has a processing disorder or auditory processing or anything, Spanish is extremely challenging because of whatever significant factor is going on. And just a lot of people's brains, learning a foreign language is hard in general, right?
Yep.
And so to start the conversation, let's just talk about middle school. It is not required. It is built into a lot of their schedules, but it is not required. And you can opt out of it. Now, I'm speaking from California public school. Right.
I'm glad you brought that up because, like, as we were having this conversation, I went and Googled it. And I Googled, what is the foreign language requirement sort of nationally? In California, you do, according to what I'm seeing, and this was AI generated, I will say, because now Google does that, at the top.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. But you have to check. Sometimes, for example, if you are looking up a study and you go to AI and you ask ChatGPT or whatever to, like, show me some studies on this topic, they'll make up citations. So you take it with a grain of salt. But what I'm seeing, California public schools require 1 year and 11 states require students to take 1 or 2 years of a foreign language. And then 16 states do not have a foreign language graduation requirement. And 24 states have graduation requirements that may be fulfilled by a number of subjects, including foreign languages.
Okay.
So, it's not everywhere, which is interesting.
At this moment, we're just talking about middle school.
Okay.
For most public middle schools that I have experienced. It is a precursor to whatever you're going to do in high school. It's not actually fulfilling what you're going to have to do in high school. Maybe you can start at a higher level of Spanish in 9th grade, but you still have to do that requirement over that period of time, right? So it might be the second time you're seeing it, or you might start at a higher level, right? Like Spanish 2 versus Spanish 1, right? So for a lot of kids, this extra 5th subject is a lot because they're already taking the other 4 core subjects. So a lot of kids can take like a study hall or a learning center if they have an IEP, for instance, or they can take an elective, which is a little bit more fun. It's also, if you're looking at them experiencing something else and what direction they might want to take in high school, this is a great opportunity for them to explore some things that they might like versus sticking to the 5 core subjects, and one of them being just a foreign language, right? Some kids I know are passionate about it, but most kids are not. Most kids feel like it's just another thing, another subject.
Steph, what did you take?
I took Spanish. And I also went to private school in middle school. It was just a little bit different. Yeah. But I'm talking about the kids that are struggling with anxiety, low grades. They already hate school. They're doing hours and hours of homework or no homework at all.
It's another thing they don't need. Yeah.
Right? So like take something off their plate in middle school. Like let's make it a little bit easier. So those are the conversations I'm having with the middle school parents. Especially because they didn't realize, like, it's just what everybody else does, or that's the norm. So we're just following what everybody else is doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you have to do. There's a lot of kids that don't. So that's the middle school situation. So if your kid is struggling in middle school with the language, take it out. It's not going to help them in high school because they've seen it once before. They're going to probably hate it even more by high school. Then let's talk about high school. So in California, we do have a requirement that you need to take a foreign language. But now I'm taking this from a public school because every private school is different. And some private schools offer many different foreign languages, but usually the most popular choice is Spanish. So one of the things that you can do instead of taking Spanish is take ASL, or American Sign Language. A lot of people don't realize that this is an option because not a lot of schools offer it. But here's the important thing to note. The first thing is you can take it. There are a lot of language schools, even online classes, or at the local community college that can count as the credit, that you can take it outside of high school. So for instance, I have quite a few clients that actually take ASL, but one of them took it every summer. That was her summer class. So she actually then had 4 classes during the school year instead of 5.
Lighten the load.
Yeah. So a lot of kids do that in general. They take summer school if they want to lighten their load during the school year. So they'll take something during the summer. And this was an easy option for her. And she took it online. So there are self-paced ones. You know, you can actually attend an online class. And then if you need the in-person at a local community college. But the thing that I also want to bring up that a lot of parents don't realize is that ASL is actually accepted by a lot of colleges to meet the requirement. We're going to put in a couple of links that I found for colleges that accept it, but there's hundreds that accept it, including all of the Cal States, some of the UCs, Yale, Stanford. So some big schools actually accept ASL as the foreign language. So when you're talking about why or who ASL might be a really good option for, the first kid that comes to mind is the really fidgety kid. The really fidgety kid who likes to use their hands. This is so much easier. Gets out some energy, and it's much more a practical way to like be doing something in real time, right? So those kids. The other kids with processing speed and auditory processing and kids with dyslexia. The ones that struggle with spelling. And remember, in a foreign language, spelling actually counts. And yes, Spanish is more phonetic, but also if your kid is dyslexic, don't put your kid in French. Mm-hmm. So it's more phonetic in Spanish, but it's so much easier to use your hands with American Sign Language. So one of the things that I keep having in these conversations with parents is them not even realizing this is an option. Yes, not all of the colleges accept it. But if I take my client who just graduated and is going to college in 2 weeks, she got into almost every college she applied to. And that is with ASL. And she got into a lot of good schools. And she aced sign language. She actually really liked it a lot. And she said it was so much easier. And a beautiful byproduct, we have more people who speak sign language.
Lots of opportunities with that knowledge base.
Oh, 100%, because there's a lot of interesting things.
Neat.
So when I've talked to parents, okay, let's look into this. You can get the waiver through the school so that they can do it. Sometimes you have to pay outside, the district won't pay it, but it's not super expensive. So for a lot of parents that I'm talking to, taking that burden off, there was a parent that is a listener to the podcast, so she's going to hear this. She and I had this conversation months and months ago, and we were talking about giving her child a choice. We both talked to her child about it. I'm not going to even use a gender, so it doesn't even...
Yeah.
When we talked to her child about it, her child was thrilled with doing ASL. Just lit up and was so excited to take Spanish off the plate and do something that sounded fun. And then also the child had some control. It was almost like this burden. The shoulders relaxed a little bit. Like, okay, this is going to be easier when I have had these conversations with some of the parents. And I feel passionate about it because if it's so hard, why are we putting them through this? If there's an option that doesn't feel as miserable to them and can really lighten the load, because unless you're going to be teaching Spanish or you're going to need it for your career or whatever, right? A lot of people take a foreign language and then just forget it. Mm-hmm. And the amount of stress and the amount of energy it takes away from being able to do the core subjects is a lot. Like, you only have so much gas in your gas tank. And when you're using a lot of it for a foreign language, and some of the kids are like, really struggling in English and math. You guys. Okay, so we've been using Zoom since way before.
We were pre-pandemic Zoom users.
We've always done the podcast on Zoom. Oh, so Rachel is she's got the emoji reactions on, and there are hearts flying on her screen and rocket ships and all kinds of things while I'm talking. And, CDs now are flying. Anyway, so I will get off my soapbox. But that being said, I just wanted everyone to know that it's an option and to explore it if it sounds like something that might benefit your child or your family.
I'm so glad we had this conversation. It's not anything I ever talked to anybody about or thought about. How come you've never told me about this before?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because I've been having it for some years, but I don't.
Okay.
I think it's because in some conversations in the last couple of months, I've been having it more and more and more. And
yeah. We pay attention to those trends for sure.
I sort of started to feel like, oh, there's a sigh of relief after I have this conversation with parents.
Yeah, we need to spread the good word.
Yeah, if you can do it. Listen, it's not going to work for everyone, but if there's at least one person that this helps, then I'm glad.
Thank you so much, Steph, for sharing this idea with us, because I think it could be transformative for some families.
I want it to be. If they're really struggling,
we love an easy solution.
Yeah, just take them out. Just take them out.
Yeah.
It's also that conversation of, do you need to take an AP? Not every kid needs to.
Even as you were listing those fancy schools that accept this.
Yeah.
It may not be the right fit school anyway for your learner. That's not everybody's journey.
For sure. But to know that hundreds of colleges are accepting it, And I'm sure it's just going to continue to grow. And how cool that you can sit there and say that, you sign.
I took sign language in elementary school.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, as like a after school enrichment.
Such a good idea.
I really, really liked it. I really, really liked it. Yeah.
So if you have questions or anything like that, or want to talk to us about this more, then reach out to us, Rachel and Steph at LearnSmarterPodcast.com.
We'll talk soon, Smarties. Have a great week.
Have a great week.